Hello and welcome back to Business Today. Viewers, as requested today, we'll be talking about trading for a living. If the idea of making money as a stay-at-home financial trader appeals to you, then today is your day, because we have a very special guest here on our show. He's one of the world's most respected and able market analysts, and is the UK's most experienced independent trader in futures and options on the web. He has been responsible for teaching many hundreds, if not thousands, how to trade successfully with no paralyzing fear. And his name is Mr. John Piper. He's a financial trader with over 25 years of profitable trading under his belt. He's also the author of a number of best-selling trading books, including The Way to Trade, The Fortune Strategy, Binary Trading, and The Financial Capitalism Now. He also heads up a major league financial trading newsletter, The Technical Trader, since 1989. His books and newsletters are loved and read by a vast spectrum of people around the globe, including high-flying corporate traders, daredevil entrepreneurs, 9-to-5ers, and even university students. Viewers, I can also confirm I'm a great fan of his, and without further ado, I'd like to welcome him on the show. Welcome, John.
Well, thank you very much. It's been a pleasure to be here.
Obviously, the first question would be, how did you get involved in trading? That's one of my first questions to you.
I was working in a company that was doing sort of pensions management and tax advice back in the 80s, and they used to take Bob Beckman used to write something called Investors Bulletin back then.
Okay.
And the investment guy got the thing, so I started reading it, and it was quite interesting, I found. And he actually was into Elliott wave theory, which I've found a very interesting theory over the years.
Okay.
But what actually got me involved in it at the time was that I was buying options on FTSE in I think it was in '85, and one of my friends said to me, "Well, you know, you can actually write options, and you know, you can either buy or sell options. You open the trade by selling. It's slightly complicated. It's like an insurance policy. You take the premium basically."
Yeah.
And I was mulling this over after a day of skiing in Andorra, and I just thought, well, how can this possibly lose money? So a few months later on, I became a full-time trader, trading these options.
Okay.
And it was a very interesting experience.
Okay. When you became a full-time trader, was it from home, or was it from
I had to resign from the company in question. I realised they weren't going to be around long. I mean, they made some promises which they weren't going to deliver on, as far as I was concerned. And I realised the whole thing was about to collapse. It looked like a pack of cards. So I resigned this very high-paying. It was actually a marketing job, funnily enough. I didn't think of myself as a marketing guy back then at all. But so I resigned this high-paying job. I think it was about 80 grand at the time in the 80s. And I became a full-time trader virtually the next day, in fact. So it was quite a baptism of fire, I think, in that sense.
I understand you use different systems a lot. I'm sure our viewers would like to know more about the systems that you use.
Yeah, my starter system is something I call Krautgap, which you're aware of. It's a very nice, simple system on the DAX, and I always recommend new traders to start with a system, because it gives you the rules.
Yeah.
Many people come to the market and they just trade emotionally or instinctively, and it doesn't tend to work. You need to have some ground rules, and so Krautgap is my sort of starting.
Yeah, I've got some experience with Krautgap, and to be honest, it takes out all the emotion and the fear of trading away from it. It's just the way you put it together. It's amazing. Well,
it certainly can do. Not everybody feels that way, but because it takes time to develop the. It's you know, you go into an unfamiliar environment, then the market's very good at triggering different emotions of people. But that's one I use. I trade options a fair bit, which is I still write options, as I did back in 1987 when I started to do that. I also look for the big moves. I run a service called the Big Call Service, and I mean, for example, we got the move from 10,000 on the Nikkei Dow back in, I think it was 2012, 13. It went from 10,000 up to, I think, 17,000, no, 21,000, of course, eventually. We caught that very well. We caught the gold move in 2009 from 1,000 to 1,900, and I'm hoping the gold's about to explode the upside again, because I'm long gold at the moment.
Okay, brilliant. Okay. Now, you mentioned options system. Could you just elaborate on that? What do you mean by options? What sort of trading is this?
It's writing options. Basically, it means that it is like an insurance policy. You're an insurance company. The market pays you the money, and you're saying, well, Mr. Market, if you go above a certain level, I'll give you money back. So the market is, if you like, is almost taking out an insurance policy with you and giving you the cash.
Okay.
Now, as long as the market stays within certain boundaries, you keep the cash. It's only when you get sharp moves that the market wants some cash back.
Okay.
And sometimes you lose money. It's not, nothing's ever all one way. But overall, it's a nice way of trading.
Okay.
So.
I mean, you'd probably be a perfect person to answer this. Can someone learn to trade while they are busy in a job or running a business?
Well, certainly they can. I mean, there are so many different variables there. You do need some time. You have to have time to trade your system. I mean, if you're trading Kraut Gap, you need 5 minutes a day. Now, okay, that may not seem very difficult, but it needs to be around 8 o'clock in the morning. So if you're doing something 8 in the morning with your job or your business, then that wouldn't be compatible. We have a sister system called NASGAP, which trades the NASDAQ 100 on the US market, so that trades around 2:30. So that's an alternative system. So you do need some time, and you need to have what I call it sort of psychological, emotional resource, so you can actually put something into it. Now, if you're totally worn out and drained by your business or your job, then that won't work very well. You need to have something spare for the market.
Okay. What is the most important quality a trader should have, in your opinion?
I think discipline's a key thing. I mean, the traders who do better most quickly are the ones that are just really disciplined. I remember Robert Prechter was talking about a Marine who he was training at the time, I think, and he said, you put him on a ski slope, he just goes straight down in his tuck and just sticks with it, because the discipline is absolute. And I think same with the market. If you can just stick to the system and stick to what you're meant to be doing, everything is so much easier. So discipline is the first thing.
Discipline.
Yeah.
Okay. Anything else?
You've got to be committed. The market's going to throw things at you. It's going to hurt you. It's going to. However you trade, you're going to take losses. Human psychology is such that when you take a loss, it's more painful than the same profit. We sort of expect to win. We're sort of trained to be winners, aren't we?
Yeah.
In school, we're trained to do things, and in life, we generally succeed. And we're used to that. We're used to that. And the market comes along, and it doesn't play by the same rules, and you get these hits. And
that's when you need to take control of yourself.
Yeah, you got to learn to deal with that, and so the ability to persevere and stick to it is key.
Okay. Coming back to your Kraut Gap and NASGAP you've just mentioned, what sort of initial investment is ideal to start trading those systems?
Well, there's always a learning curve, so it's good to start low. Really, you don't want to put in a huge amount of money, because that can be fatal. You want to learn the ropes using a small amount of money. Once you know the ropes, then put more money in. So, I mean, obviously, the value of money is a very changeable thing. People have very different opinions about the value of money. So some people say, well, £1,000 is a huge fortune. Others would say, well, it's trivial. So, I mean, it doesn't matter. Start with £100, £1,000. You can do either. You can paper trade, which is always a good idea. It doesn't quite have the same feedback.
Yeah, because the emotion don't play so much.
Yeah, so it's not quite as useful. But once you're up and running, then 5,000 plus whatever is good. It's good. And then you just you develop that.
I know I'll ask you the question, important quality. How about worst character fault for a trader?
Well, I think there are two actually. I think there's the sort of addicted gambler who just can't stop gambling, trading away. I remember one trader I was speaking to. Took these, what do they call these tapes you listen to at night. He was listening to these tapes at night, hypnotic tapes at night, and to try and he had this block, he couldn't trade. And the next day he woke up and he couldn't stop trading. He did 100 trades in the first hour of the day, and that's you can't do that. You've got to be disciplined and controlled. Okay. The other is being a miser. I think if you're a miser, then the money is too valuable to you, and you won't be able to trade, because you'll be frozen by the fear of losing this money that's so precious to you. You've got to have a bit of flexibility on that score.
So you need a bit of courage.
Oh yeah, well, you need courage for life generally. You need courage for everything, I think, really.
And how important do you feel money management is when it comes to trading?
Oh, critical, yeah, it's critically important.
Could you tell us, how would be the best way to manage?
The thing you've got to realise is that all trades work on a probability basis. There's I mean, the Kraut Gap, you're going to win 70% of the time, okay, but you will lose 70% of the time, and the losses tend to be a little bit bigger than the profits.
Okay. So you win 70%. Your Kraut Gap, you can win 70% of the time.
Yeah, the track record is pretty consistent on that point. Right. But the losses can be larger. So you might make 20, 30 points, but sometimes you're going to lose 50 points. So overall, it does well, but you've got to realise there will be losses. Now, if you're risking, say, 10% in every trade, and you have a losing streak, you can be down. You can lose half your capital. So you can't risk 10%. You need to risk about 2 to 4%.
2 to 4%. Okay.
But, I mean, that doesn't. I mean, in the learning phase, when you're risking a small amount of money, you can be a bit more flexible about that. But once you're doing it for real, you've got to be pretty careful how much you risk.
And how long can the losing streak take? You know, could it be 5 times, 10 times out of 10, or how would you actually put that for your NASGAP and your corporate gap?
We don't see many losing streaks going on for more than, say, a few weeks. But yeah, as I said, I mean, I'm not sure I've ever had 10 losses in a row. We've had 10 profits in a row, but we've probably had 4 or 5 losses in a row. But it does vary from system to system.
Okay.
I mean, if you have a system with a 50% hit rate that wins half the time, then it's like tossing a coin. And if you toss a coin 1,000 times, you're liable to see a string of 10 losers. I mean, that's the way statistics work. It's 10 or 11 losers. So every 1,000 trades, a 50-50 system, will hit a string of 10 or so losses. It also hit a string of 10 or so profits, but nobody complains about that. That's fine.
What would you prefer out of the Crook Gap or the NASGAP system?
They both have they're quite compatible in that they tend. One's doing really well one day, the next doing not one day. One, I mean, they have trends where one is better than the other, but they're both pretty consistent over time. And the timing, you know, one's in the morning, one's in the afternoon, so they're quite compatible to trade together.
Excellent. Your thoughts on high frequency trading? I think you just mentioned very briefly. Could you elaborate a bit more on that?
Well, if you read the book, which is Michael Lewis's book, what's it called? I can't remember. Flash Boys.
Okay.
I mean, it's really a rip-off. I mean, you know, these guys get as close to exchange as they can do. So the time they've got the minimum time delay on front-run orders. I mean, that's I think the basic of that particular system, which should be illegal to an extent because they see the order going in, and because they're so close, they can sort of front-run the thing. I mean, just you know, they have a 100-meter internet link, whatever it is, rather than a 2-mile link. So they have this advantage of some milliseconds. But I mean, there are many other systems out there. I've got no problem with the trading system, but I think if you actually just front-running, which is what these seem to be doing, i.e. they're just seeing an order go in, and then getting in, and then selling on to the person with the order. So they're getting in the middle of an existing trade, which is pretty ridiculous, really. They shouldn't be allowed.
Okay. Okay. What do you say to people who thinks trading is actually easy?
Well, it can be, in fact. I mean, if you have a system like CrowdGap, then it needn't be that complicated, but it depends what you make of it. It's certainly not. I wouldn't say that the business of trading is an easy business to get into, but I think every business has its challenges. You've got to put in the work, and whatever you try in life that's a serious proposition, you have to spend the time learning the business and becoming an expert in the business and developing it. And I think nothing in life is worthwhile is ever really easy.
That's true, yeah.
Unless I guess you have an amazing singing ability or some kind of natural talent. But even then, you know, the athletes who are talented have to train hours and hours to actually get to the top.
Okay.
I think everything we do is and I think it's good that way. I think it's, you know, you meet the challenge and you prosper. I think that's
okay, that's brilliant. We've got a minute to go to break, so we're going to be going to break in a minute. Just before then, I want to ask you, when you were actually trading for the institutions, what sort of sums were you trading with?
Well, I traded $1 million. It wasn't a huge amount of money, in fact, but yeah, I did trade $1 million for a period.
Okay, and now obviously you've left that side, and you're more casual now, and
yeah, I mean, I've stepped back a bit. I mean, I've been trading for the 80 or so, 30 odd years. So I don't trade in the same size now. It's more relaxed. But yeah, I still trade, and I still enjoy it, and I still make money, and it's a great way of life. I mean, my laptop is my. I mean, I brought my rucksack in with me. Well, that's my office, and wherever that goes, wherever I lay it down is my office.
We'll come back to that, no problem. We're going to just go to the break, viewers. So please tune in and see you after the break.